Hi, welcome to my studio. My name is Thomi. If you've landed here by accident, this is my Flosstube channel where I talk mostly about cross stitch, and this is the time of year when those of us in the Flosstube community put out WIP parades, which is works in progress. And so I'm going to show you everything cross stitch that I have going right now. I have a couple quilting projects sort of in the works, but not today. So I'm going to be showing you my WIPs. I also am starting to do cross stitch design. So I'm going to show you I have a model in progress. It's about half done. So see that? And I'm going to talk about my plans for 2026. So I'm new to cross stitch last January, and I started my Flosstube at the end of March. And so I'm gonna, I just can't believe it's been almost a year since I started stitching. It's really changed my life, and this community, the Flosstube community, has changed my life, and I really love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support, all the lovely comments that people have made on all my really clumsy videos over the past year. Hopefully I'm getting a little smoother. You just heard, can't see her, but I have a little parrot. She's a black-capped conure. Her name is Nessie. She's green, and she might fly in and land on me at any moment because she does tend to fly around, and she doesn't like not being with me when I'm doing stuff. So as soon as I start handling things, she might show up. I've got a ton of notes because I can't carry all the numbers in my head. And I'm just going to show WIPs. I have finishes from the year, but I think I'm going to show those in my 1 year anniversary, my Flossiversary. Flossiversary? I don't know. I could spell it. So I'll be showing those on my 1 year anniversary. And I have only 4 now, but I know I'm going to have at least 1 more, maybe 2 by then. So maybe 3. That would be cool. All right, so that's my general plan for the day. I do have a lot of plans, and I think that just to keep myself from repeating and to shorten it, as I show you a WIP, I'm going to be talking about my plan going forward with it. And most of my plans are pretty, like, just the next 3 or 4 months kind of plans. More than that, there's no point. There's no point in me putting that effort in. I suppose, you know, if you're new here, I know WIP parades tend to get a lot of new people, and you want to see more. I have been doing, like, every 2 or 3 weeks, I've been doing videos, so you can go back. My last video kind of got buried by Thanksgiving, so go give that a watch. I talk a lot in there about the model stitch that I'm doing, my first design. I gave a copy away in that last video for Flosstube 14, if you want to go backwards a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start my WIPs. I'm going to start with the oldest one first. In the beginning, I had a rule for myself that I had to be 20% before I could start something new. I've kind of abandoned that, but I don't start things just like willy-nilly because I don't want to have more than a dozen WIPs at any one time. I think I would get really, that'd make me nervous. All right, so my oldest WIP is, I call it Mother Earth. It didn't really have a good name. I got it on Etsy. And I'll put what it's supposed to look like done up here while I look at my notes and tell you what I'm doing. So I started it in early spring, in April, and then I realized I had a really bad combination of fabric and old floss that was dry and just looking bad. So I restarted it on June 2nd, which was my grandson's 2nd birthday. So that's kind of cool. I didn't even realize that I did that. It is currently 69.77% done. And I've just used some unidentified floss from my stash for this. And I dyed the fabric myself. It is a 25 count Aida, and I'm doing this 2/1. So it's it's pretty tight, but I kind of like that about it. So the brown has sort of a reddish tint, which you get back here pretty well. And it kind of blows out a little bit up close, but then you can see the detail. So there's like these roots down at the bottom, and then all the flowers. So it's a figure. I don't know if you can see, like this is her head, her torso, like she's got a skirt, and then there's flowers around her, and then she has like these arm wingy things. So this is going to repeat on the other side. And the centers of the flowers, I'm going to be doing all different bright colors. I put this one in, and it just, these two, and that just didn't quite cut it for me, because up here it's a lot of really dense green, and I kind of want to pull that out. There you can see a little better. So yeah, the centers of the flowers are going to be just, you know, if I have an extra thread of red or blue, right, I'm going to put that in there. So that's that one. Really, Mother Earth is a symbol that has been important to me forever. And so I'm going to probably be doing more. There's another one I have already bought that's another, it's from Ukraine, I think. So I couldn't read it, but it's another folk art, Mother Earth. There's a lot in the Slavic countries. I don't know. I think that they have more of their indigenous history sort of than people in other places in the world. They didn't get colonized quite as rapidly. Okay, so that's Mother Earth. And I think, what did I say? 69.77%. So she's going well. I imagine that she will get finished by the end of spring. That's my, I'm just going to be throwing these on the floor. Hopefully the dog won't step on them on her way through. Okay, so, I've got piles here. I'm sorry, I've got piles. Okay, next is Summerhill. I'll put that up here. I started this on July 8th. All these were started in 2025. I started stitching in January. So this is Summerhill. I'm doing this on a paper pattern, which it's a pretty nice paper pattern, but I still prefer digital. I'm using all the called for DMC. It's designed by Karen Kluba for Rosewood Manor, which I really like. I really like a lot of their designs. I like looking at them. I have a feeling that a lot of them I wouldn't actually like stitching. But anyway, so I finished the bottom. Well, not finished, but I got quite a bit of the solid part on the bottom done. So it sits here. Let me just show you the whole piece. This is the whole piece. So this is 40 count linen, and it's smoky vintage. I didn't write it down. Vintage smoky something. But I really think these colors are beautiful. In Summerhill, there's a Summerhill State Forest that we take our dogs to in the summer. And so that's why that name first caught my eye. And then I really looked at the design. I really liked it. And you'll see another one. I started Autumn Hill as well, but I started that, you know, at the end of the year. So I really like that pattern across the bottom. I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna modify that a little bit and make a headband kind of thing. So we'll see. And so I'll show you the flosses for that. No, I don't have those flosses here. I have flosses for the other thing that's in that bag. Okay, so that is Summerhill. And I'll show you the autumn one right now since I've got this bag in front of me. These are in all homemade bags. This is a big one since I have two patterns in it. So that was Summerhill. This is what Autumn Hill should look like. See, again, it has the same shape on the bottom. I started in a central start on this one. I did the apple tree in the middle. And this is also 40 count because I want them to be the same size because they're charted. There's 4 of them, one for each season, and they're charted to be the same size. And so there's the apple tree. And I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not so keen on that as an apple tree. I think I just couldn't get into this piece. I'm not sure why, possibly just because fall was crazy like it always is for me. So I'm just going to set it aside, and next fall I'll jump in and we'll see what I think then. And I know that I'm also using the called for floss, and I have those here. So these are the flosses. Oh, yeah. The colors of the fall one are just stunning. So I'm definitely not going to abandon it. I will definitely dive back in and make that chart happen. It might be one where it would be better if I'm playing around with document scanning into PDF so that I can take paper patterns and make a copy that I can mark off on. It's so much easier. So much easier. Okay. All right. So that was Summer Hill and Autumn Hill. Oh, Autumn Hill I started September 24th. And I tea-dyed the linen. It was white. So next is a long dog sampler, also on 40 count that I dyed myself. It's Do Different. I started this on July 19th. It is at 20.46%. And the floss that I'm using is Sulky 12 weight, and the color is 1096. And so here we go. It's bright and green, and I've got two borders done and this one corner. So I'm going to fold it up and show you that corner because it's more complete than the rest of it. So there we go. I love how the Silky, so it's one strand of Silky, 1/2 on this 40 count, and it just sits up there real nice. It like pearls up. I wouldn't want to use Sulky on a 46 count. It would be too tight, but I really like how it looks on a 40 count. Yeah, here's another corner. So this piece, my goal going forward is just to keep plugging away. I've been doing it mostly on weekends. Some weekends I have no time, and some weekends I have nice long lazy Sundays, and I can put in 8 10 hours. So that's just where this is going to sit, because it's been working since I started it, and I got to 20% in less than a year. So I think I'm going to try in this coming year to do 25%, and so it doesn't last a whole 4 years. It'd be nice if I got it done in like 2.5. So that's kind of my stretch goal for that. And I'll show you the bag that I made for it. This cool batik. It's kind of doing tricks with the camera. I hand stitched this binding. I stitched it by machine from the front and then rolled it around and hand stitched it on the back. I just can't do machine binding, drives me crazy. So, but I like that bag. I had convinced myself that I needed to start using some of my pretty fabric instead of just the ugly stuff. All right, so that was Do Different. Next, I have The Wings of the Dove, which is by Modern Folk Embroidery. It's my first Modern Folk Embroidery piece. I first saw Hanukkah? Yes, a Dutch stitcher doing it. And I picked it up, I started it, and it was another case where like the fabric and the floss was a really bad combination. So I restarted it on July 21st, and I dyed the fabric myself. It's a another 40. I bought a whole yard of 40 count linen and dyed different pieces of it for different projects all at the same time. And so this, my inspiration was, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Sorry. My inspiration was a ripe peach for the color of the fabric. And I mean, it kind of, it's not quite showing here. It's a little dark today, very snowy, but if I get close, you can see. So this is the straight borders. I'm doing 2/2, and everything else is 1/2. And so that gives a different sort of texture to them. I don't know if you can see this, the texture of that. So I really like that. And this piece is quite repetitive, but it's so open that you don't really feel like it's repetitive, because it feels different from every angle that you're stitching it at. So I really like it. I'm gonna keep going. I really like his designs. The more and more I look at them, the more and more of them I could stitch. But since I'm trying to also design my own pieces, I kind of have to not start all the things all at once. All right, so that is the Wings of the Dove. That is at 19.34%. So I almost made 20% before, but it was definitely not 20% when I started something new afterwards. So the bag for that is this little cute thing. This was one of the first ones I did. I couldn't figure out how to birth the bag, and so there's the it's just raw inside, whatever. I'm usually kind of sloppy when I'm making something for myself, quite honestly. I need to not do that. I told you. Okay, so next is Sampler to Olga. It's by Reflet de Soie. I just adore this pattern. It's so delicate, and the way I'm doing it, it has this sweetness to it. It just feels like being 12, right? Like when everything is sweetness and light except school. So this is the bag that it's in. And these, I just pulled all the unnamed reds and pinks in my stash. Before, when I first started stitching, I bought on eBay somebody selling their grandma's stash because I didn't know what I was going to need. So I just thought, well, that's a good starting point. It has been. I've kitted up so many things using that lady's stash. But so I got a whole bunch of pinks and reds here. Love it. And I dyed this one in the same batch, and I just have this corner. I don't know. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit lighter than that, the aqua. So wait, I'm holding it wrong. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so it takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot of color changes, even though it only has like three values, 3 colors per motif. And it's gonna be, this is probably my biggest piece to date. So it's huge-ish, right? Like it's huge. This one I have no timeline for. I kind of hope it lasts forever, right? I just love it. And so I'm just gonna, when I need that color combo in my life, when I need that sort of feeling, then I'll work on it. But there's no there's no rush. There's no rush. It'll last. It'll last until I'm ready. Okay, let's see. Oh, I better put the floss back in there with it, or I will never. I don't have that many WIPs, and I thought, how could you get confused by what thread goes with what? You don't need many WIPs before it starts getting confusing, does it? Okay. So that was Sampler to Olga. She's 8.57%. I'm really glad that I have a digital copy of that. Really, really glad. And yeah, it's on 40 count. I dyed it with Dynaflow. I talk about that a lot. I don't know. I'll put a link below. I can't remember exactly which episode I talked about that a lot. Okay, next. Turkish Delight. I saw this finished by a few different people, and it was just, I mean, I can't remember who had done it, not with the called for fabric, but it had the bright pink fabric. So here's the chart. Isn't that just amazing? And again, this is Rosewood Manor, and it's done by Karen Kluba. And I just love, I just love her designs. There's something about how evenly she puts things over the surface. I really like that. And she really uses variegated floss in this one to a good effect. So I saw it done like this, and then I saw Carrie from Evertote at, Roxy Floss Co. Carrie. Her version was completely different and really also exciting. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that one. So again, dyed my own floss, or dyed my own fabric. I used, again, the Dynaflow. And I started in the center because it just called for a center start. And I'm using, again, just random brights from Stash. I'm not sure. I think this is up. Not sure totally. But yeah, it's not huge, but it's pretty big. Now this one I'm gonna work on seeing if I can make a PDF that I can work from, because all the color changes, and then unlike a lot of things that I do where if I make a teeny little mistake I can fudge it, when it's the same, you just can't fudge that, right? Like, it has to be right. And it would be a lot easier for me to get it right if it was on a PDF. So I'm gonna use my scanning app and see if I can get that to work. I'm not going to show the threads for that. I just have a jumble in the bottom of my bag. And this is the bag. Oh, that does weird things to the camera, doesn't it? That print. Hey, gads. Yeah, so this is another one I hand bound because I got frustrated trying to machine bind it. It takes twice as long to rip it out and do it over, doesn't it? Okay, I'm surprised Nessie hasn't come over to visit me. She's sitting there looking grumpy on her perch. She has a perch in front of one of the windows over here. Okay, so that was Turkish Delight. I started that September 8th, if I didn't say. And then next I started Autumn Hill, which I showed you in late September. And I didn't start anything in November. I just kind of kept my head down. I was working a lot on my own pattern, which is coming up. But then, you know, I'm not a holiday person, especially Christmas. You know, some people have problems with Christmas. I'm one of them. But this year, I spent December watching everybody's Flossmas daily videos or semi, every other day. Everybody had kind of a little different thing. And it was so wonderful. Like for the first time in my life, like I've never really been part of a community before, of like, just people. And just seeing how excited people were and all the love and energy and that was being put into all these projects, it gave me a really different perspective on the whole holiday season. So I really enjoyed just sitting and stitching and, watching all these different videos from people just, how many Santas can I do in 12 days kind of thing, right? It was fun. It was fun. So I appreciate everybody who did that. So, a week into December, I saw on Instagram, and I'm sorry, I don't remember. It was just a fleeting thing, and then it kept niggling at me that I wanted to look it up. Somebody had done Dasher and Dancer. I can't even remember if they'd finished it, but I was like, ooh, I like that. That's cool. And I had this piece of fabric and white sulky combined, and I was like, I want to do a subtle white on a light ground piece, but at the time I didn't know what it was. So I did Dasher and Dancer, and I pretty much exclusively worked on it for a couple weeks because it was just so much fun. And I'm putting it on the board here. I've realized it's just not something I can just hold on to. So the fabric is vintage brown from Seraphim. It's 32 count. No, 36 count. 36 count. And it's called vintage brown, but to me it looks like a dusty purple. And see, I don't know if you agree. Does it look? I think yeah, it kind of looks like a dusty purple. So this is 24.98% done. I worked on it exclusively until I was totally tired of it, and then I stopped because I was like 25%, that's good. So I'll pull it out next year. This has room for a date or initials or something, so I'm going to wait till I'm done or know it's going to be finished to fill that in. But I really enjoyed it. I did a center start, and again, look at how cool those stitches look. The sulky, it looks like little pearls. I'm really enjoying that. I like weight stitching. Have I said that before? I like weight stitching. Yeah, so this piece, it's going to remind me of the year that I decided Christmas maybe wasn't so bad. Get over my Christmas hang-ups. And I don't know, the fabric is way too big, right? But I've never done that. I've never just started in the middle knowing I was going to waste fabric. But I just didn't feel like doing all that counting to figure out where to put it. And this is in my first top zip bag. Turned out okay. I figured out how to birth the bag so the inside is smooth as well. And the sulky is white, and the number is 1001. That makes sense. I never even looked at that before. So yeah, that one's gonna go. I might pull it out for Christmas in July, or I'll wait until November, December next year to dive back into it. I'll probably put it in a different bag because this one is better for spring maybe. And I get I'm doing the bifocal thing. I'm sorry. I get my zippers from the Crafty thrift store, and so this one is metal, and it seems to be more fussy putting in these old metal zippers. So I'm going to try not to get those unless I need something more heavy duty. And they snag easier. So that's all my WIPs. That's everything for 2025 that's not done. And I think all told, I didn't have any just, I did UFO a couple pieces like 4 months ago. I had started a few things on some Ada that actually was really cheap, and it wasn't even. It felt nice, right? Like it was, but it just, I was at the time I was trying to put Quakers and, structured like snowflakey type things, and none of those worked on that fabric. So I UF'd all of those, and also decided that I didn't want to keep going with them, in large part just because my taste really quickly changed, and what I felt capable of really changed pretty quickly. So if you're not a regular watcher or a subscriber, please do. I would love it. I would love some more subscribers. I'd love more people to comment and, cheer me on or tell me, hey, dump it. It's not worth the effort. There'll be a day. So I do feel like I'm building a community, and I really enjoy that. And I've really been, I did Strawberry Fields forever, a little pattern, and I changed it. There was a rectangular border, and I turned it into an arch on the top. And the response to that was just so amazing. Like, people were so excited just by that little change. And I had it in my head that I wanted to start designing sometime, right? But then I started just doing it. And so my first chart is called Grandma Nitty. It's in honor of my grandmother. And I'll put this is the digital mock-up up here. I can't even remember how many stitches this thing has. I'm 57.38% done, however. I started this on November 1st, stitching it. The pattern is for sale. There's a link to my Shopify. And so I'm working on the model, and this is how far I am. So I've got the rest of the flowers, started one here. So these 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers are repeated over here, but they are not stitched the same. Each flower is shaded. Each petal is different. So even though it might look a little bit repetitive when you're doing it, it definitely is not repetitive. The swan is done in multiple, like mostly blanc, but the borders and everything kind of reflect what's around the swan. And I included in the pattern, an alphabet so that you can customize it yourself if you want to. So this is exciting for me to start something like this. I've told my subscribers before, but again, I'm hoping that there's some new people here for a WIP Parade. I have a master's degree in painting. I went to the University of Oregon and got my master's degree in 1998. I graduated, and I've been quite sick most of my adult life since. So I've never really been able to pursue an art career, seriously. I've always made stuff. I make stuff all the time. But as far as like getting it out there into the world, I've not done that. And it's great. It's great to be designing and to think, someday somebody's going to pick up one of my designs and stitch it, and I'm going to see it on Instagram, and they'll have made all these changes, and it'll be awesome. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, if you'd like to help me out with that, subscribe and share and comment. The link to my Shopify is in the notes underneath. I've had problems with my links not working, but honest, if you cut and paste it into your browser search thing, it'll go right there. So that is my first pattern dedicated to my grandma, who she taught me to knit and she supported me in every creative endeavor, and I miss her terribly. She's been gone 30 years. I miss her terribly. Okay, so that takes care of everything that's in progress, stitch-wise. So I'm gonna pause here and get a drink and set up, and then I'll talk to you about all the planny type things that I haven't covered yet. Okay, I'm back. I've got Nessie. She likes to drink my tea sometimes. All right, so I do think I forgot to tell you the fabric for my grandma nitty pattern. It is 32 count Seraphim honeysuckle. I have a couple Seraphim fabrics, and I really like them. I really like they have a good, like, have a shine to them, I guess. Okay, so the plan for that, for Grandma Nitty, I'm gonna have the model done by the end of January. To do that, I need to do 250 stitches a day, every day. So I'm gonna do that. That's my main stitching priority. This year, 2025, I had a planner for my first time ever, and it's helped me so much. I never thought of myself as forgetful or scattered or anything, but the planner definitely has shown me that, yeah, I forget a lot if I don't write it down. So that's good. So I got a new planner this year. I got this on Etsy. I'll put a link to it. And I made a bag for it to go in. Another top, and it's got pockets and space for my pens and pencils, and hopefully eventually some stickers if I convince myself it's okay to be 12 and buy some stickers. So that's that. And this is going to be my Laura at Lala D Stitches. She calls it her brain. I love that. That's kind of how I feel too. She's actually the one that I first saw her WIP Parade last year, and that was my first like inkling of Flosstube, was from Laura's WIP Parade last year. So thank you, Laura. You've changed my life and you don't even know it. Yeah, in so many ways. So I love her. I make sure I watch all of her videos. I started watching her because of her quilts, which she's amazing. She's amazing at her way she does quilts. Just amazing. Things I would never undertake. I'm a quilter too, but I work very differently. I make up my own stuff. Okay, so I've got big plans for this year. I am not going to get into the year-long plans because a lot of the long-term ones are for myself designing. But as far as stitching goes, I'm going to talk about that. But as for designing, I do hope to get a new design out almost monthly, at least until, like, say July. I tend to have a lot of good creative energy the first half of the year, and then I kind of have to just suck it up the rest of the year. So that's why that plan is. So I have I'll put the picture here. My next pattern release is going to be Declaration, and I am charting the Declaration of Independence. Not the whole thing. But I happened to read it. I was listening to Heather Cox Richardson, and I can't remember what she said, but I was like, I want to read the Declaration of Independence now. And so I did. And it's amazing how relevant it is to today. And so we're going to be having our semi-quincentennial, say that 5 times fast, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence is next July 4th, 2026. And I've been wanting to do a piece that kind of commemorates that or recognizes it. And so my declaration chart is going to be that. I'm going to start a stitch along with it instead of stitching the model first, because it's almost all alphabet. And so I think I can be pretty certain that it's going to be okay and release it. But I'm charting it as a red sampler, a red alphabet sampler. So it's going to maybe appeal to a bunch of people who otherwise might not like to do something patriotic. We'll see. I tend to not really get into most patriotic stuff. You know, it used to be kind of an empty holiday. It's not anymore. It's pretty important. The beginning of our democracy. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that, and the SAL will start, barring anything bad happening, on President's Day. Let's see, what day is that? February 16th. That's my plan. February 16th. Declaration. I'd love it if you start with me. Tell me if you're going to do it. The chart is going to be inexpensive, and I'm going to figure out how to donate some of my proceeds to the ACLU. That's the plan. Okay, so I have also a plan for a piece coming out for St. Patrick's Day, which also has something to do with my grandmother, funnily enough. Let's see. Okay, so I have this newfound appreciation for Christmas stuff, and I watched everybody doing all these ornaments, and I really like snowflake, star, sparkly kind of things, I've decided. So I'm going to try on the 25th of every month, I'm going to try to at least start a little snowflake ornament. And I'm going to do that. And then in July, and Christmas in July, I'll have a new plan for how to go forward from there, as far as like finishing, how many more do I want to do? Am I going to gift them? All that stuff. I'm not even going to think about that until July. But that is something you'll see come up in my WIP rotation. I'll be showing you, hey, ouch, that hurt. Why? Here, come up here. Sometimes she forgets she's sharp, right? You forget you're sharp? Yeah, don't bite my ears. There's so many things. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to keep up my schedule of every 3 weeks posting a Flosstube, because I do think I'm going to start doing an extra every once in a while. So it won't be 3 total weeks between. Every 2 weeks is okay, but I tend to get sicker in the winter and early spring. So I don't want to overcommit myself. I would like to not burn out making videos so that I can keep stitching and designing, if that makes sense. I will, however, try to post on Instagram most days, most weekdays anyway. Let's see, what other plans? I'm going to kind of go backwards here. I have a plan I was going to start this last fall, but there was too much going on. I've had a plan for a stitch to do in honor of my mother. She did embroidery. She did crewel work before I was born, really. And I have a piece of her embroidery that's just amazing. And it was a chair. It was like in a pole. It was been turned into upholstery and put on a chair. And so I took it off of that and cleaned it up so it wouldn't get ruined. You know, it was a chair nobody sat in until she passed away, and it got passed on. And then it was like, oh, we're going to ruin this, right? So I'm going to do a major embroidered cross-stitch piece myself, and then turn hers and mine into a wall hanging, like a quilt, a wall hung quilt. probably with hand quilting and maybe more embroidery. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go. But that's the plan for April 12th. I'll be starting that. That would have been her birthday. And the goal is to finish it by September, the whole project, the quilts, the wall, totally finish the whole project by September 2029, because early October she passed away in 2009, and I'd like to have something to commemorate her at that point. So that's a long-term big project. And I'm really kind of glad that I've had to pause and not do it a couple times, because the plan has become richer and deeper and more significant as a result. I get a new idea and I get really excited. And if I just buy all the stuff and dive in right away, I almost always regret it. I like to take my time and plan out big projects. I have things that I have started that I've had in mind for a decade or more. So so if you hear me mention something that I'm thinking about, it could be years before you see it. Just because I make so many things, it's like, it has to be the right time of year for some stuff, and I have to be this healthy for this stuff, I'd been wanting to do a temperature chart because I thought that just sounded cool. And I had also been thinking about how I feel disconnected from the moon phases. Is that something that happens with menopause, I wonder? Like, I used to know all the time what phase the moon was in, and I don't have any idea anymore, unless I really pay attention, like look at an app or, look at the sky and go, oh, okay. But I've kind of lost that connection. So this chart that I've chosen, I saw Adelaide from Adelaide Stitches. She's lovely. Watch Adelaide. She did a great Advent Flossmas sequence. It was awesome. I watched every single one. But anyway, she showed this chart and she decided not to do it, but I love it because it has both things. It has the temperature chart aspect and the moon phases. And it's really cool that depending on where you live, they give you a different chart so that the moon phases correspond to where you live. So that's awesome, right? That's so totally awesome. So I'm going to start that tomorrow, New Year's Eve. I'm going to get as much of it done as I can because there's the border around it. I'm going to be using, I have this lovely Weeks Dye Works purple grape. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a 36 count and it's just so pretty. And I'm going to start, I've got a pin my upper corner there. I'm going to start, I did a little bit of practice stitching. You can see I'm going to put in the borders, I'm going to use 2 strands, 1 strand of floss and 1 strand of metallic, gold or silver, depending on where it is in the pattern. And so that's going to be cool. And these are all my colors for my different temperatures, highs and lows. Oh, here comes Nessie. She likes the colors. Do you like the colors, Nessie? You like the colors? Huh? Now she'll be scared of them. So that's exciting. I'm going to start that. And it's good. It'll be good to keep track of the temperature every day too. So that's tomorrow. And then after I get it, a good start, it'll be my Friday stitch. Oh, sorry. I try not to do the zipper thing again. Fridays I have my grandson here and I tend to be a little distracted. He's 2.5 and he talks a lot. He's an awesome little kid. He just, but but he's very distracting and he's got nimble little fingers. So if I'm in here in the studio and I'm working, there's no way to baby proof this room, right? There's no way. But I mean, he's really good, but he'll like pick something up and he'll look at me and see if I react, right? And if I don't react, then he'll know it's okay. But if I make a face, like tip my head at him a little bit, he'll put it back. He's such a good, he's just the sweetest thing. I love him. Actually, I should put a picture in here. I made him I used a pattern to make the Velveteen Rabbit, and I made him a rabbit. I raise rabbits too. St. Hubert d'Argent. I raised them. I created my own breed because, you know, colors. I couldn't find a rabbit that was the color I wanted, so I made one. Yeah, so that's gonna be my Friday stitch because I can just, you know, I can save up my temperatures all week and it's just a small amount of stitching and I can do 7 moons at a time, right? In between, you know, feeding Maddie a million snacks and playing trucks. So that's going to be my Friday stitch. I think that I won't have any trouble keeping up with that. And then I'm on New Year's Day, I am going to start Little Acorns, the Modern Folk Embroidery 2026 stitch along. My very first like big official stitch along. I don't imagine that I'll be able to keep up. I've got so many other things going on. If I was not stitching my own designs, I would be able to keep up, but I am not. So I've got this fabric, which is, oh goodness, am I gonna forget? I forget. Feldspar. I can't remember by who, but it's got grays and like warm grays and cool grays all kind of mixed together. And I'm going to be using, hey, don't tip my teacup over. That would be bad. That would be bad. Bad bird. Okay. So mostly it's going to be this sulky. So it's a 36 count fabric. So that's sulky mostly. And then if I can hold this right, those two that kind of work with it, I'm going to pull parts out, like maybe some of the animals, maybe some leaves, you know, just kind of as I'm going, I'll just have some little things that are one solid color, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. I've never used variegated floss before, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm excited. I watched his Flossmas videos too, and he's a scholar, right? Jacob is a scholar, and I appreciate that. You know, I studied a lot of what he studied from a fiber perspective. I have studied from a paint perspective as far as painting and drawing, as far as like that time period that he focuses on and the area where he's focused for the most part. So it's really interesting for me. Like there's a lot that goes back and forth between those two practices. But, you know, when I was in grad school and taking, you know, in-depth art history classes, nobody talked about anything fiber. It was just all the men who were so talented. And they were. But there were a lot of talented fiber artists, females back then too, right? Like it was. So so I really appreciate a lot of his patterns. And I think that's why they call to me, is because they have that kind of, there's that underlying cultural aesthetic that they have that I like. Does that make sense? A cultural aesthetic as like a way to describe something. I don't know. Maybe that's rude. and I don't realize it. I do that a lot. Okay, so that's New Year's Day. So that's two new starts. And then I'm going to start this piece for the third time. The third time. And if it doesn't work this time, I'm going to put it away and I'm not going to do it. So this is Quaker Virtues. It's an octagon. It's a Quaker. It has the main tenets of the Quaker religion: community, integrity, simplicity, equality, harmony. I like that. I really like that. That makes sense to me. And I love Quaker designs. I won't go through the whole story of all the times that I started it wrong. It was just, it's driven me crazy. So I decided that one of the things that I had done wrong with it was I just tried to be too cheap. You know, there's a point at which, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make an heirloom, but some pieces demand a certain amount of input. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's energy. In this case, I think I had to put a little bit of money behind it. So I'm doing this on 46 count stone. And I have, it's just a very, very soft blue-gray, pretty even, not much modeling. And I just gridded it out with a sulky, plasticky thread, just so that I would have my corner that I could count off of, because the corners are cut off on the, see, so I gridded it so that I would have where the corner is and I could count over. That's the only reason I gridded it. This has been my first 46 count piece. And I'm using this same exact linen to do my Declaration of Independence. So I just wanted to keep it not huge. And I splurged on floss. The thread gremlins talk about Pirate Robin all the time, right? So I went on the Pirate Robin website or Etsy shop, and I looked and looked and looked. I spent weeks, like I would have a plan and then I would change it. Or I'd have a plan and then I'd forget what the plan was, and I'd tell myself, nope, you can't do that. You forgot about it. It wasn't that cool. And so this is what I ended up with as my final plan. I really liked, they had one color, I think it was called Pride. And I really liked it, but it was a little too bright. And so this is just a little bit more on the jewel tone side of the Pride colors. So that's, this is called Hadley, this variegated one. And I have one that I cut and got ready. So you can see it's just really cool. All the colors. And somebody else had mentioned how their colors, when they meet, they don't end up with that mudgy browny gray color. They really, really beautifully dyed. And so then I thought I had a green too. No. Then I have these two, and I'm going to do the same thing that I'm planning on with Gathering Acorns. You know, some parts I'm just going to have in the solid color. Maybe the words, I'll see as I go along. This is a project that's going to take years, and I'm happy to just have it be with me for years. So it was worth putting a little extra into. And this is in this bag that I couldn't, you know, like I had a scrap. And so I didn't even have enough for the back, right? Like I had just that much. And so I couldn't get them you know, centered and upright, but I like it anyway. Yeah, so I'm planning on starting that in January. I'm not sure exactly when. I'm going to just wait until I have one of those days where everything else is kind of or when I need something positive, because, you know, the news, there are those days where you just need something. And that's going to be Quaker Virtues seems like a good thing to use as that kind of piece. So that's my January starts. And like I said, in February, I'm going to start the stitch along for the declaration. And then I'm probably not going to start anything new until I do the one for my mom in April. I will have 12 WIPs at that point, and I really want to stick to that. I tend to do really, you've seen, I do big pieces. I'm really interested in pieces that are complicated or have a lot of different colors, or, you know, I have enjoyed the smaller pieces that I've done, and I've done them. It's been nice to have something that sews up quickly and you get that little hit and you finish something. So I do think I have some smaller patterns that I'll pop in as the year goes on, but I'll just leave that to be something spontaneous, right? Like I've already picked them out. The floss is ready to go. I just I don't know when I'll start them. I do think I should at some point make a chart about Nessie. What do you think? Should I make a chart about you? Because you're so cute. She's like the channel mascot, right? So there you go. There's my WIP parade, my plans. I really would love to see you as the year goes on. If you are on Instagram or you have a Flosstube, please let me know. I would love to see what you're doing. And you know, if you're working on something, I mean, I'm putting this video out so that it's ready for when everybody like sits down to do the 12 by 12 New Year's Eve. You know, just something to watch. So let me know what you're working on. What's your 12 by 12, or you know, what's got you excited about your stitching in the next year? I would really love to know. I wonder if we, you know, you can deliberately make something a trend, right? Can we decide that something's going to be a trend and just do it? So yeah, please join us again. Nessie's usually a lot more entertaining. She's very sleepy today. She usually bites me and runs around and poops on me and, right, makes a spectacle. My dogs are back there. You can't see them, but I can hear them snoring. They're old. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me. Come back. I've got lots of plans. Who knows if I'll get even half of them accomplished, but it feels really good to be looking forward and making plans. That's my kind of New Year's Eve. All right. See you later. Thank you. Bye.